guys, it's Cece and today is Wednesday, which means that today is a very special day because it means that today is Top 5 Wednesday. So Top 5 Wednesday, of course, was created by Lainey at Ginger Reads Lainey, and I will leave the link to her channel and to the Goodreads group down below. You can go and check them out. So this week's theme was actually just a theme that I didn't have that many answers for, and I still really wanted to do a Top 5 Wednesday for you guys, so I went back to some of the old themes of Top 5 Wednesday, and I am going to be doing for you my top 5 non-YA books. So this is just going to be adult fiction for now, kind of. I don't really want to get into non-fiction, and I don't really want to get into middle grade because I think those are different books that I want to do. I have already done a recommendations video for non-fiction, so I thought I would just show off my favorite kind of adult books, and I have 5 of them. But first, I just wanted to throw out an honorable mention to Fried Green Tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe. This was my favorite book last year, so it is obviously one of my favorite non-YA books. However, I do talk about that book a lot, and I wanted to give some other books a chance, so just so you know, that's probably my favorite non-YA book. But let's go over the top 5 that I have, because there are some books here that I don't talk about as often. Coming in at number 5. At number 5, I've got The Mystic Arts of Erasing All Signs of Death by Charlie Huston. This is a book that I don't think I've ever really talked about on my channel. I think I mentioned it once in a video because I bought it purely for the cover, but it wound up being an excellent cover buy, which is funny considering the actual theme of this week, which was disappointing cover buys. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about this book because it is a great one, and I've never seen anyone else talk about it on BookTube ever, so I thought I would make you all aware of it. So this book follows our lead character, Webster, and he's kind of a freeloader. He just lives with his friend, and then one day his friend says, "No more, you have to start paying to live here." And so he goes and he gets a job to clean up dead bodies, basically. If there's a murder, if there's a death, there has to be someone who goes in and cleans that mess up. And so that is what Webster does. And he slowly learns all of the tips and tricks to cleaning up these messes, and then one day he gets involved in one of the murders because he meets the family member of someone whose body he's cleaning up, and he gets thrust into a world of sort of like gangsters and criminal enterprise, and he just kind of gets thrown into that. This book is really fun. It is very entertaining and very fast-paced, and it definitely made me want to read more books that were involved with sort of like gangsters and mobs. It just really got me in the vibe to do that. This book is set up a little differently. It doesn't have quotation marks, so like all the paragraphs are set off by these little dashes instead, which is a little hard to get used to, but once you get into it, it's really easy to read and so much fun. Coming in at number 4. The next book that I want to mention is another one of my favorites from last year, and that is Phantoms by Dean Koontz. This is such a fun book. It was my first Dean Koontz book, but as I've said many, many times, I'm going to read more Dean Koontz. This book follows 2 sisters, one of which is just coming to live with her older sister, but when they arrive in town, everyone in the town appears to be missing or dead with these frozen looks of horror forever on their faces. And so they have to kind of get someone involved to try to figure out what this is, but there's clearly something very awful that happened in this town and something that might still be happening. This book is really suspenseful and really just, it keeps you turning the pages. It's definitely very scary, which I really enjoyed. I don't know how often books can really scare me, but this one really definitely scared me, and I absolutely loved this book, so it's definitely one of my favorites. Coming in at number 3. At number 3, I've got The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This is a huge book on BookTube, but I still just want to mention it again because it is, of course, one of my favorites. This book has got a bit of magical realism to it, and it's sort of hard to describe because I kind of want to let people explore it on their own, but it takes place in Victorian England, and there are magicians and a circus that only appears at night, and it is just magical. It is such a wonderful read. There's so much to it. It's very lyrically written, and even though I don't actually love magical realism, this is one of those times that I think that the smallest amounts of it worked really, really well, and I loved every character, and it was just a beautiful, beautiful story. Coming in at number 2. At number 2, I've got The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield. I don't talk about this book super often considering the fact that it is one of my all-time favorites, and for a while I was listing it as my favorite book, which I don't think is true anymore, but is still one that I absolutely love. This book follows Margaret when she is suddenly called by sort of a reclusive author, because this author wants Margaret to write her biography. And the author's most famous book is The 13 Tales, but what's interesting is that there's only 12 tales in the book, so it's just Margaret's exploration of Vida Winter, who is the author, and her sort of mysterious life because just no one knows about her, and their stories intertwine, and it's got a very gothic kind of feeling to it. This book is definitely a mystery and is very dark and mysterious, but I love the way it's written, and I really love the way that the stories kind of meld together. So it has definitely stayed with me and has definitely been one of my favorites. I think it is a great book for those who love to read. This book is just beautifully written in general. That's what I want to say about it. And finally, coming in at number 1. The final book that I want to talk about is definitely a huge favorite of mine, and that is Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. Again, this is a huge book on BookTube. A ton of people read this a couple of years ago when it came out, and people I know still continue to really love this book. It is one of my personal favorites. Again, I don't want to say too much about this book. It is a psychological thriller, and so I just feel like describing it kind of gives too much away. Basically, this book begins with a character named Nick, and his wife is gone, and there sort of begins this investigation because it seems like she's been kidnapped, and a lot of the signs are pointing to Nick, and that's really all I want to say about this book. There is so much more to it than that. This book is incredibly well written and has so many turns and twists that completely took me by surprise. I read this a couple of years ago, back in 2014, and it was my favorite book of 2014. And the movie was also really excellent, just a side note. But if you want the full experience, read the book, obviously. It's just fast-paced, all of the characters are really gray and really dark, so there's just no one that you love and you really want to root for. But I love books like that. It is creepy and well written and wonderful, and just Gone Girl is one of my all-time favorites, so of course this is probably my favorite non-YA book, besides Fried Green Tomatoes, obviously, as mentioned. Okay guys, those are my top 5 non-YA books. I hope you've enjoyed watching. Please let me know down in comments below what are some of your favorite non-YA books. I know that a lot of people don't read YA at all, so you must have a lot. But let me know what those are in comments, and I would love to hear them. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!